TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Nonsense. We are live.
It's ready. So on both sides. Open it. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Millennium News 24 Power Talk Show. I'm with you. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson. It's great to be back in front of our viewers as we always try to deal with current issues pertaining to our societies, our communities, our government, and our world, that we make it a better place for all. Today, we're going across the waters to West Africa to a great leader of the country of Gambia in the city of Brikama. We have with us today the Honorable Mayor of Brikama, Yankuba Darbo, with us today live. President, thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric, for having me. Thank you to all the viewers that are watching the program. Hello to everybody.
Yes. Well, you know, here in New York, we have a pretty much New York State period, but especially New York City, we have a large Gambian community, whereas and Senegal, West Africa period, but we have a good population here from Gambia. So I'm glad we're able to have a discussion with you dealing in relations to your country. A lot of people have been calling into our show and asking us, why do we do something about Africa? And I said, well, we do things about many countries, but we do it one at a time as the time arises. So today we have the opportunity to deal with Gambia. Many of the people will have concerns and say we would like to talk about the country. They feel that the country is in dismay. They feel the country's sinking, sort of say. And we don't want to see or hear such a good thing like that. Hear such a thing like that. It doesn't sound good. But first of all, Mr. Darbo, why don't you give us a little background about yourself and then we'll move forward.
So my name is Yankuba Darbo. I am a Gambian. I was born in the Gambia. I spent some time in the United Kingdom, where I studied and was lucky enough to practice there as a lawyer. A couple of years ago, I decided that I want to come back to the Gambia and run for political office in order to serve my people. I believe that my predecessors who were running the affairs of our local authorities in Brikama were pretty much very corrupt and weren't doing a good service or weren't rendering good service to our people. And that was one of the reasons that motivated me into joining the political field. And I was lucky enough to convince the people, and by a huge majority, they voted for me, and I have since been serving them. And we've been serving on that mantra of fighting corruption, eliminating corruption, and then basically ensuring that whatever revenue is generated in the council is plowed back into the people to help the people in achieving the development goals that everyone has.
Well,
so this has been our number one objective, and we've been on that since. Unfortunately, on the national level, that is not something that is transcendent, and as a result, that is probably the bad news that you alluded to being coming from the Gambia at present, and that is this issue of corruption at the national level is a big problem, and it's something that which I believe young leaders like ourselves are trying to do everything we can to fight it, to discourage people from such practices, because I think that is what is actually holding the progress of Africa. But just to introduce Gambia to many of your viewers who are not very familiar with Gambia, this is the land of Kunta Kinte, and I believe many of them must have heard about the land of the Gambia from the, I think it is the 1980s series of Roots in the United States. So this is where Kunta Kinte hailed from, and this is it's also dubbed or known as the Smiling Coast of Africa. So this is the Smiling Coast, but the people are not very much smiling at present, simply because of some of those challenges. We've had a terrible leadership under the previous president for 22 years. It was more like a dictatorship, and the people came in huge numbers and voted against him in 2016 to usher in a new administration, and there was a lot of hope that this administration would deliver or deliver the aspirations of many people, but they are failing short on that, and that's a bit of a disappointment for many. But
so
we at the local level are trying to change that narrative.
Yeah. So how do you believe we really instill that smiling face back to the Gambian people?
How do we bring that smiling face back to the Gambian people?
Yes.
I believe few things we need to do. First would be that of eliminating corruption, and then investing in the people, creating a better welfare system for the people, and then creating jobs for the youths, because that is something that they are crying for. And we are blessed with the land that is endowed with so many resources that can be able to sustain the country. The only thing is that the central government is not seeing this, and everything at the moment is dependent on imports and importation of goods from different parts of the world, and that is not really helping. But I believe if the resources if much investment is made on the resources, the natural resources that the country is endowed with, I believe that would bring back the smiles on the faces of so many of our people.
And especially now that I'm hearing that they're finding oil in the Gambian River offshore there, as well as Senegal. So this is a huge new finding, and it's been there. But now that they've been exploring and digging, they find that the Gambia has the oil as well. So this is a huge help for Gambia if it's directed and done in the correct way. As you mentioned, it can't be any corruption deals involved with that. I know every time anything of good of Africa is discovered, Europeans are right at the door, wanting to just extract and take away everything and continue to leave Africa in the condition that it's in. And unfortunately, this is what's been going on for many years. But I'm hoping now people are waking up, as you can see across Africa. You can see what's going on in Burkina Faso with the young president there. They're fed up and they're tired of the suffering and oppression of their nation and the taking of their resources, whereas they are putting out corrupt government people. They're putting out the status quo that's been holding them down and cutting these and getting in bed with the European nations to suppress their nation. And many of them now are taking the role of their own leadership, and they're encouraging. I think it's going to be a domino effect around Africa that the young are starting to rise and is going to take the forefront of leadership because the leadership that's currently in these countries now are just constantly wanting to stay there for so many years, 15, 20 years, extracting so much money. But if you see good happening, then there's no need to complain. But if people are feeling pain and oppression, bags of rice are tripling every year by the cost of a bag of rice is every year doubling or tripling, how are people going to survive if there's no job, no money coming in? So how do you pay the inflation rate? You know, so that brings about suffering, and other things come about because of suffering.
That's right.
So what you said is definitely true about job development for the young. It's a shame the young are going to school and coming out, but then what are they going to do when they come out of school? When they go to a college, they come out and do what?
That's right.
If there's nothing there for them to do, what are they going to do? Sit with a college education and do what? Go do farming? But how much people going to do that? And how much could come out of it for the whole country can't be farmers?
That's right.
And they go to school, and they have great minds. Many of these young people to go, they're engineers, attorneys like yourself, and all of these other professions, but they need opportunity, and opportunities have to be created.
Indeed. I mean, you quite hit the nail on the head there. The situation that we have in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and Senegal recently.
Yes.
It's all this neo-colonialism and a whole lot of other things that we have, which are not helping the continent as a whole. Africa is one big family, one big country. But you know, it's been partitioned into all kind of different countries. The people, you live in one country, you go to the other country, you feel like you are in the same place. You just haven't moved from anywhere. They say everything feels the same. Cultures are the same. The people are the same. It's the only place in the whole world where black people go to anywhere, and then you don't feel like anyone is discriminating you or feel like you are inferior or of that nature. But the problem that we have in Africa, and that which has been the biggest impediment to anything with regard to Africa's progress, has been Africa's leaders. Our leaders, they like to shock up to the West a lot. And then that hasn't helped. And then, like you said, self-perpetuity. They want to remain in power forever. And they don't really understand, because you see, democracy is still something that which Africans are struggling to understand, because Africans are used to having their own leaders. They have their own kings and monarchs that were leading them. Now you have democratic leaders who are supposed to rule by the constitutions, but they act like they are kings, and they have ruling by their own commands and orders. This is a big, big problem that which a lot of African people are having with the leadership in our countries. So leaders are elected to serve the people, but they go in there thinking that they are kings that which the people are supposed to serve them, rather than them serving
themselves. But you know, we're going to take a break, and we're going to return right back and continue. Stay with us.
Okay.
Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson, host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also on Smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite. And also worldwide through www.millenniumtvnews.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com. And through our social media, Millennium News. See you then. Welcome back to Millennium News 24 Power Talk. I'm your host, Eric Stevenson. And we're continuing here with our guests from Gambia, the mayor of Bakama, Yankuba Dabo. And we're back to our discussion about Gambia and how we're going to see the upliftment, not just of Gambia, but of the suffering people of the world, period. But today's topic, we're dealing in the country of Gambia. And Mr. Dabo, as you was mentioning, I'll let you continue what you were saying.
Yes, so So as I was saying, the big problem for Africa is the leadership. Our leaders have been the real disappointment for a lot of Africans because a lot is expected of them, but they've been delivering little in return to the people. And most of it is because of corruption. And then this issue of them living in a different planet to the rest of their people is a big problem. They are not much interested in serving the people, and that's a big problem because you need to serve the interests of the people, and the interest of our people at the moment is how to attain progress and development in our continent, because Africa is way behind everyone else, and that shouldn't have happened. Yes, it went through a lot because slavery didn't help Africa and colonialization didn't help us. That really made it difficult for us to catch up on the rest of the world. But we attained independence with other countries in the Far East, and they are far more developed than our nations. So we cannot have any more excuses now. We've got to think out of the box and think about a master plan that which will help our people. And that's one of the things we are doing, because we realize at the local level, at the grassroots level, that some of the challenges that our people face, we have unemployment, the youths are not having that many recreational centers to help them engage in something other than education and playing football. So these are some of the things that we want to bring back, but we want to also find a way to create jobs for the youth. And this is something that is very important.
And
So
how do you suggest that gets done? How do you suggest that development for jobs get done?
Which one?
How do you suggest that job creation would be done in the Gambia?
So the job creation at the moment, you know, as I told you, the land is endowed. It's a very fertile and rich land. And that which we at the moment are depending on everything that we consume, we are basically importing it from outside when we can actually grow them on the ground here. Potatoes, onions, tomatoes, you name them. Everything that we consume on a daily basis can literally be produced here. And literally, we can join the nations that can be able to export those to other nations. But that is not happening at the moment because farming has been mainly a subsistence farming rather than commercial farming. And the commercial farming part of it is dominated by not indigenous but foreigners. They come in, they produce, and they export it out, and whatever profit they make, they take it out as well. We don't want this to happen. We want to create jobs so that our youths can themselves be running their own big commercial farms, not only export everything that they produce, but be able to sell it on the ground and make the money, that the profits that they're going to make, instead of that profit also leave in Africa, the profit is going to remain here.
And what about creating something of technology, factories and stuff and dealing with technology? Many of them are coming out, computer scientists, computer engineers, etc. What about something along that line as well?
Yes, so technology, this is something that is even helping us as a municipality and as a council, because data is very important for every decision that we make. It helps us make the informed decision. So we use technology on that front, but there's so many other things that we can do if the right investment is done on technology side. Because currently you have a lot of, even in the West, you have a lot of firms that are outsourcing their technology stuff to India. So India is seen as the technology hub for the world at present. We can have such firms in Africa, and they can also be doing such services to any businesses around the world. But the investment is not here. People are not investing. We have the people with the expertise, but they are not having that access to the international market for such, and that's a big impediment.
I could tell you
on the ground here, they are doing, and a lot of our youth entrepreneurs are engaged in that business at the moment. They are providing that. So instead of a lot of businesses being outsourced to India and other countries. They are doing it on the ground here. They only need a lot more support in terms of financial support to be able to acquire some other equipment and materials to compete those of the other big companies or big tech companies in India and other places. These are some things that they need to do. But I think the real issue is that the real opportunity that which will create a lot more job opportunities for the youth would have to be in agriculture, in fishing, fish farming, a lot more of other poultry farming, animal husbandry. These are areas that which, if we are able to attain that self-food sufficiency, we can then be able to compete in a lot of other things. And this is something that which you find that central governments are not investing a lot in, and that's a big problem. Even though African nations met at Malabo in Mozambique, they signed this agreement that they will invest almost 10% of their budgets or 10% of their national budgets on agriculture. You find that very few are doing that. This is one of the things that the guy you mentioned in Burkina Faso is doing. They are now talking about trying to produce wheat so that they can depend all the flours that they depend on for bread and other stuff will now literally be produced in Africa rather than all of that being imported from abroad.
That's right.
What Africa has been doing, we have the land, our land is endowed. It's like what Sister Columbia says in one of his songs, that as you see the earth, you know we are blessed, yet we desert looking for happiness somewhere. And this is the big reality we are facing. We have all these natural resources. The Gambia, half of the river that we know, we call River Gambia, is non-saline. It means that that water can be irrigated on all sides of our riverbanks to produce rice. All lot of agricultural farming can be done there. But that is not being done at the moment. Instead, everyone is depending on goods that are being imported from abroad. And this is a big challenge.
So what about the vision of the current leadership? I mean, now I have to question and ask now about current leadership. Whoever's in power of the Gambia now, I haven't been keeping up so much with the Gambia since the last president had left. But I was thinking that when Gambia had a new president, that it would be a new direction and vision. But it seems as if it's still now a lack of vision. If you're not hearing about the development going on, if you're not hearing about what you're talking about happening, then there's a situation and a problem here. There's a blockage of the vision of development for Gambia.
The big problem they are having at the moment, as I said, is corruption. When you're corrupt, it's hard for you to have any vision apart from just getting whatever you want to get. And then more or less satisfying that passional interest or passional desires. And this is the challenge that they have. Because
so how does the Gambian people sit by and continue to allow suffering to go on to this extent, worsening and worsening day after day, and they not change leadership? This is what I don't understand. We're facing this right here in America right now with this presidential election, which is going to determine a big outcome of what is going to happen here and throughout the world. But I'm just wondering about the Gambian people. What are they doing?
So the Gambian people, I believe we have the elections around the corner. The people will definitely, I believe, will vote massively against this government so that they can usher in a new government that which is going to bring them a new vision, and a vision that which everyone can relate to. Because the vision that this government have is a vision that nobody understands what that vision is, because they themselves are fine. They're not even able to articulately explain it or express it to anyone's understanding. So it is hard for anybody to know where the trajectory is, where the direction we are headed into. So, but
don't you think it's a crime to be a head of a nation that you from or that elected you, and you neglected to go in a spiral downward direction? This is a crime.
It is. It should be a crime indeed. And this is what always causes so many problems in the African regions, because the African people will have certain, they will tolerate certain level of patience with their leaders. If they go if it becomes unbearable, then they either take up arms, or you have military coups, or you have a whole lot of other things. But all these things would be happening, and to the utter surprises of so many people is that many democratic nations, the Western countries who keep saying we are interested in helping Africa and seeing Africa's development, they would still support many of these useless governments that end up hanging on the power.
Yeah, because of resources. They want to take resources, you know?
Exactly. And that's one of the things that
they don't care if you're good or bad for your country. They're only looking at their interests of what they want. If you're willing to do it, you're good to them. They care nothing about your country and your people.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is the big challenge that we are having on the ground. But as leaders in political offices, we're trying to sensitize our people to get to know a lot about these things. And I believe the people are not only learning this, but they are seeing the realities of this. Because before we came into the office that I am occupying now, before we came in there, that office was literally not offering anything to the people. The service that they were rendering was basically nothing. Now we've changed everything, and on the matter of eradicating corruption and being transparent and accountable to the people, and ensuring that people's resources are plowed back to them. Their revenues go back to them to achieve or attain development for them. They are now seeing something that they thought couldn't happen. And now they're saying, hold on here. The problem is not actually us not having anything. It is about the people we send out there to manage those resources that we have there. That has been the problem. Because now they understand that they have enough resources to sustain themselves. But the problem is, you've got to put the right person there to be able to make it work for you. Otherwise, it will not happen. And that's the reality we are facing at the central level. So I believe in 2 years' time, we're going to have elections. And once that elections happen, we would have the change that many are yearning for. Because so many people are yearning for change, because the dalasi, which is the country's currency, is depreciating a lot against the other currencies, and that is not helping. It's making everything beyond the reaches of many or average Gambians at present.
Well, there's a wave of progressive change happening up the line of the West Africa. And like I said, Burkina Faso, Mali, all these countries right next door, Senegal, and these people are looking at these unfair contracts that have been agreed upon with Europe and France and all these places that was taking 70% of profit from the country and giving the country back 30%, which was highly unfair because they might have gave the president a few dollars to accept this. Yeah, he'll live good and fine, but what about the people he represents? You know,
that's right.
So these young progressives are rising up, and I'm going to tell you, Gambia by force is going to have a change for good, because the people are only going to go but for so long, but before they say enough is enough. And I feel sorry for the person who's going to come to sit in that seat and not do the job right, because the young are rising and they're tired of the oppression, and it's coming up and it's starting to spread throughout Africa, not just the West. It's going to go across as well. And it's going to be a change in the upliftment of Africa.
Indeed, that the wave of the wind is blown, and there is no way to stop it now. The change is coming, and as you rightly said, Gambia is definitely going to join the bandwagon.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to return back right after this. Continue on.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson, host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also on Smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite, and also worldwide through www.millenniumtv.com. millenniumnews24.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com and to our social media, Millennium News. See you there. Welcome back to Millennium News 24 Power Talk. I'm your host. I'm with you, Eric Stevenson. We're here with our great brother and honorable Yakuba Darbo. So continuing back, Mr. Darbo, you know, the change that's on its way, regardless of who thinks or believes it. But, you know, I think the Creator has now ordained and put forth a change for Africa now. It's not overnight, but it's starting to happen. People are waking up and they're realizing we can manage our own affairs. We don't have to have Europe to come manage our affairs like they did in Burkina Faso and everywhere else. So we don't need you here to manage our affairs. We can manage our own resources and affairs because you don't do right or justly behind us. I mean, with us. So we can manage our own affairs. And the resources throughout these countries are enormous. I mean, it's just so much resource that you have enough that you could feed the whole of the country, create so much industry, so much job, hospitals, schools, you have the resources under your feet.
Indeed.
God never made a mistake when he created Africa because he put the resources of the wealth you need for development under your own feet. But a vision of our leaders are not accessing the right things. They have a wrong vision. And if they do, they're allowing outsiders to come extract it. This is going back to the time of slavery of Africa, of what they did. And enslaved the Africans and did the same thing, take the resources up till today. France couldn't be who it is without Africa. Portugal couldn't be who it is without Africa. Where'd the wealth come from?
That's right.
So these young people are rising up now, and it has to be changed. And I'm going to tell you, I visited the Gambia several times, and it's a country that I love. I can tell you that now. I've been to Jufri, where you're talking about. I've took the boat over to the tomb. to the housing of where Kunde was, and right where all the big baobab trees was over Kunde Kinte's room. They gave him a little bit larger room over the other slave. So because he was like a rebellion leader, I visited the village there with the chief and got some of the history. And right now, even there now, one of the Muslim leaders here in America, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's built a masjid and dedicated it in Jufri. That's up there now. It's built now and it's in Jufri. And he did it in honor of
Kunta Kinte
and the one who did Roots.
Alex
Haley, the great Alex Haley, whose roots actually stemmed back to Gambia. So I was there when they had President Jarrah, the first president of Gambia, when he was just departing. But I mean, I could never believe I would ride a motorcycle up the roads of Gambia, and it's like everywhere I went, people were happy. Everywhere I went, people would stop me, invite me. They had plates and bowls of food. Everywhere I went, it was like no one was hungry.
That's right.
Food was cheap, inexpensive. Nobody had housing problems. It was only happiness. So I see where they get the name the Smiling Coast or the Smiling People.
That's right.
It was a great time. So I'm wondering what shift from that time to now, and how do we center it back to a smiling face again, where we all can be in harmony, we all can live better. People are faced with evictions and not being able to pay rent and are being put out and forced out of rentals every day because there's no money coming in. But the money's under their feet, the money's with the government people, and the money's being put out of Gambia. So there has to be a change.
There has to be a change. And indeed, you mentioned the time of Jawara, and those were the heydays of this nation, because during those days, people were independent. The Gambia wasn't importing that much goods from anywhere in the world. Everything that we consume, everything we wear, everything we were all made in the Gambia, literally. And
Yes.
then people were really very happy. That's why we got the name, the Smiling Coast. But
Yeah.
things changed. We went through a military coup in
Yeah.
1994, and that's the main route to that was because President Jawara too overstayed in power. He was there for about 30-something years without having an exit plan. And the youths came and they were a bit more like, we are tired of being ruled by one leader. We need a change.
But
And
but he ruled good. He ruled good.
Yeah. So they came, they changed, and they also stayed in power for too long. And we had to go through another 22 years of one man's rule. And it was very difficult. It took that smile away from our faces. And then this new government that came in after that one is supposed to restore those smiles, and they haven't been able to do that as well. And simply because they've lost the part that President Jawara was on, and that part was getting Gambia to be a lot more self-sustaining and self-sufficient in terms of food production, in terms of everything that we depend on in technology. Because then we had Gamtel, and it was one of the best telecommunication companies.
Yeah, Gamtel. I remember Gamtel, yes.
Yeah, Gamtel was one of the best. Our currency was one of the best.
Very good communication company, yes.
Yes. So everything went down ever since. It was a downhill path ever since, and that didn't help. So we need a way up again, because that's the only way we can be able to achieve. But as you rightly said, the wave of change is now blowing in the African continent. You look at this continent, if we work together as a continent and as one people, I believe there is so many things that our people now leave this source to other places in search of greener pastures. Those wouldn't be happening. It would all be happening here. We don't need to be importing oil from anywhere. We've got enough oil fields in Nigeria to supply the whole of this continent. But it's not happening. We don't need gold from this anywhere else in this world. We have enough gold in Ghana, in all over this area, Sierra Leone, and Mali, Guinea-Conakry. We have enough bauxite. You name any of these minerals that the world's technology depends on today, it's all happening here. But why are we not being able to manufacture everything from our own resources? Simply because when the colonialist partition Africa, they partition everything. Even our technocrats, our intellects, our scientists cannot come together and sit together and think beyond the borders that we have.
That's divide and conquer. Divide and conquer.
That divide and conquer, really, they conquered us.
That has to be removed now. Yes.
Yeah, because the scientists in the Gambia are not sitting with the scientists that we have in Senegal or Mali or other places to sit down and say, look, why don't we sit together? Why don't we build our own spaceship to get into the space? Why don't we build our own cars? Why don't we do these things? They've got all the knowledge and everything, but everyone is just being prevented by these artificial borders that the colonialists have imposed on us. And it is really, really crazy. Because what colonialism did to us is that it partitioned previous kingdoms that existed in Africa. So now you have the Mandinka kingdom that used to exist in our region is now partitioned into Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, and Gambia, and everyone scrambling. And you have the Wolof kingdom that was existing in Senegal, or present day we call it the Jollof Empire, that was existing there. You partition some part of that and put it in Senegal, some part of the Soninka Empire into Senegal, some part of the Manding Empire into Senegal, some part of the Jola Empire into Senegal. So all these other ones now have to find a new, sort of like a new system that which is they're not accustomed to, but it's a system that is imported from UK and France and Portugal.
So actually, we need some leaders with vision who could unite.
Of course. Until, people have been saying this from the outset. Until you unite Africa, it's not going to be able to live up to its own. It's not going to live up to its own the potential, the full potential of the continent. It's not going to be realized.
Well, I hear good things about you, Brother Darbo. I've heard from some of the local people that we have a great man in our country who does good. Actually, the people come from your city, Bakama, and they talked about how the airport was done over by Bakama is done, and how you did cleaned up the sanitation, cleaned up the streets. So, and I'm like, really? So I said, we have to get this brother to speak with him, because sometimes the diamonds, as they call the diamonds in the rough. But when you find them and polish them, you see that you have the greatness there. And I'm speaking of yourself, who have the interest and the love of your country and your people to want to see the good for it.
Indeed.
So the old leadership, or whoever's in chairmanships or partyships or whatever, needs to clear the way, lift the cap, and yet let the young rise. You holding back your own country by letting your youth and the young who has ideas, who has education, who has the will and determination to do and lead the nation, but you want to cap it over the field of power. Remove that for the sake of the people, for the sake of the good. And it's a Muslim nation. Go back to the ruling and the teachings and the following of the Quran. If you follow that, you're not going to be in this situation.
Definitely.
You can't live and say you're Muslim, but yet you're violating the very words of Allah.
Indeed.
So what are you? Who are you? You selling out and working with foreign white nations and suppressing Muslims as a Muslim? This is against the Quran.
Indeed. Very much against the Quran.
So the people need to wake up. If you're Muslim, as a Muslim nation, follow what was given to the Muslims. It's the Quran. Rule by what was given to the people in Islam. The Quran. Judge by what was given to the people. The Quran. If you follow what Allah say, you can't be wrong. You can't be in darkness. You could only go forward.
Very true indeed. And the number one teaching of Quran is that of honesty. You have to be honest. So whatever portfolio you hold or leadership position you hold in any of the societies, you've got to be honest to yourself and those people. Give whatever belongs to those people, you've got to give them.
Yes.
You talk about the leadership style of Sayyidina Omar bin Khattab. Omar was going around the places and then trying to see how his people were living. The Persian guys, when they came and found him sleeping on the floor, and then he asked the other guys, who is your leader? He said, this guy that is sleeping on the floor. He said, no, this cannot be your leader. A leader in charge of this huge, mighty empire, just sleeping on the floor with no God, no anything. But that is humility, because he knows that he is serving the people. Yes. And he understands that by serving the people, he is serving his Lord. Because his Lord said in the Quran, he said, I am sending a viceroy or a caliph on earth. Yeah. So humans are caliphs to God. Why shouldn't they be caliphs to any other person? So this is very, very important. I'm glad you touched on that. Our leaders, unfortunately, are devoid of anything that the Quran teaches them.
But your dollar, the money you take today, the money you take today, and you grow old tomorrow, and you depart from this world, what does it do for you? If you're a believer, what does the Quran say about it? If you're a believer, what will be waiting for you if you're a believer? But we're going to take a break and return right back. Hello, viewers in America and across the world. This is Eric Stevenson, host of the Power Talk show on Millennium News 24. Tune in every week at Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, American Time, and also on all of your iOS and Android devices. Also on Smart TV and Apple, Amazon, and worldwide through Verizon Satellite. And also worldwide through www.millenniumtvnews.com. And that's www.millenniumnews24.com. And through our social media, Millennium News. See you there. Welcome back to Power Talk with Millennium News 24. Eric Stevens, your host. And we have our brother, Yakuba Darbo, with us, Mayor of Bakama. As we was discussing a very important topic. I'm speaking like this, Brother Darbo, because it's in my heart. And it touches me. And if we're going to speak about such a serious topic of people who do not need to be going through what they're going through, we have to take an aggressive stand. And we have to have action. We have to have change. And those who's in leadership position has the power to make a change, they should do it. They should do it for the good. But all I'm saying is those who's party officials or party chairman, I don't know how the political system runs in Gambia so much, but if they have party leaders like most places do, sometimes leadership who's there don't want someone under them to feel that they're taking a step ahead of them. So they want to sit there until they die or because they want to be in control. But sometimes the releasing of that control is what will elevate your country.
Indeed.
So we have to do something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I believe as a leader, you have to have something that you aspire to do for your people or to achieve for your people. Mm-hmm. If you go completely out of options or out of that aspirations, then you should cease being the leader of your people. But you cannot just be a leader for the sake of being a leader. You have to be there because you want to attain certain progress for your people. And
let me ask you, how about the foreign aid from America?
Huh?
Foreign aid from America to Gambia. How is that going? Does Gambia get enough foreign aid? I mean, I'm sure it could definitely always use more. But how is the relation with foreign aid coming from America to Gambia?
So foreign aid has gone down a lot. It has gone down a lot because of, obviously, I think the previous government, because of its human rights record, the US government put a suspension on a lot of foreign aid to the Gambia. The current government, because of corruption, the US government, I think last year or year before last, put up an advising all US businesses from dealings in the Gambia simply because of the level of corruption and the lack of willingness of the central government or the current government in this country in fighting corruption. That was something that they raised a concern about. And as a result, foreign aid is not coming in as it's supposed to or as one would want it to come. Because we need a lot of support, but one key support we need is that, and this is something I hope other countries, for example, in Senegal and Mali and Burkina Faso and the countries within the sub-region are going to be watching this program. One of the key challenges to democracy in Africa is cross-border voting. That's what all these the despots that we have at our powers are using or depending on to entrench themselves or to sustain themselves in power. So what they do is they would register people that are not residents in our country, they are residents in other countries, give them the votes. So when election periods comes, those people will travel from those countries to come and vote here. Once they vote, they go, based on their instructions or the instructions they give them. This is a big problem to our democracy and good governance in Africa. And this is something which I think countries like the US, rather than just sending us these food aid and other things, need to really press on. They need to press all the regional governments to start putting a stop to this, because once that happens, the people's will prevail on elections. And when their will is prevailed on elections, we will become self-governing and self-sufficient, and we will not be dependent on any foreign aid.
Right, that's the way.
We'll be able to sustain ourselves, and we'll be able to attain development in our region.
That's the way. Well, we're hoping that in this election here, whoever becomes the next president here of the United States, we're hoping they will have a heart for Africa, not just lip service of saying we need to do better for the world, for Africa, etc., East Asia, whatever the case may be, Caribbean, but that they actually do it. Whether it becomes Kamala Harris, I hope she doesn't just fly in and wave hands and not do and deliver. If it becomes Donald Trump, I hope he doesn't get the countries mixed up and say, what is Africa? But he comes and do something. Whoever is the president, we will hope that they have a heart for that which produced the world, That's what give the light to the world. That which gave humanity to the world, Africa, and that we give something back and uplift Africa. The foreign aid, I understand, probably because, like you said, of the levels of corruption, they didn't want to feel like they're giving money that's going to be misused or taken personally, and the people not get the benefit. So as you get better leadership, and you have a better track record, then you build a better relationship, and then things could continue and progress.
Indeed. And I think they can also channel the foreign aid through the non-governmental organizations, as well as the local authorities as well. This would also help. But they can pick the local authorities that are fighting corruption, because that will motivate orders from it. But Africa really does not need much foreign aid left, right, and center to build Africa. What Africa needs, and that which the world needs to support.
We're not hearing, for some reason, we're not hearing you, Brother Darbo. The sound is, we don't hear any sound. I hope we're not getting too tough for people listening and they trying to silence this talk. But truth is truth. No hearing. No sound, Darbo. We can't hear anything. Hello, your mic is on mute.
Hello?
There you go.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much. So as I was saying, what Africa needs is everyone needs to support Africa to have a much more united front, a much stronger union than the AU or the AU we have now, or ECOWAS and other sub-regional groupings that we have. The people need to be able to trade within much more freely, and that would help the continent a lot. Once we are able to trade and people are able to move without much hindrance as we are having or experiencing now, it will enable the continent to be able to exploit its resources and its full potential. Africa really needs that unity, because unity is its strength. But the divisions that we had since colonialization, that which still exists, is not helping us at all. So moving forward, Kamala Harris, whoever comes, Trump and everyone else, I hope that their number one policy towards Africa will be about ensuring or enabling Africa to have that African unity. Push for that unity among Africans. That will help Africa to emancipate itself and attain self-sufficiency, and will also register a lot of development and growth and progress.
Yes. So, Mr. Darbo, so any plans for yourself as far as any furthering of your leadership for Gambia?
Well, the future is, like I always try to say, the future is wide enough to include any vision or any ambition anyone have. And I believe that At the moment, I'm much more focused on the local level, getting that one, succeeding at that level. I think once we register a huge success story there, the next step will be dictated by the people, and I believe anything is possible in the future.
Yeah, but I think, definitely anything is going to be possible. But the people of Gambia needs to know now, if there's a choice of change, if there's a choice of opportunity, all for the better, and to put Gambia back on track in the right direction, then they should really consider and look seriously at making change.
Indeed. The change is happening. The wind of change has blown and is blowing.
Yeah.
It's coming on our way. And hopefully we will also join the bandwagon very soon and move towards the empowerment of Africa, the development of Africa, and the brighter future for everyone. Because I believe
think Gambia might be calling you.
Africa.
I think Gambia might be calling you for other things, Double. I think, what I'm hearing is something that is needed on a higher level of Gambia, in Gambia.
Indeed.
Because what you want to do locally should be done countrywide. And I think you have the commitment and love there to do it. I'm just hoping that the Gambian people would finally put money aside when being offered to vote for someone versus not voting for someone, and just say, no, we've done this in the past, but now we're going to do something different. What we're going to do different now is, regardless of what's offered to us or what favors are given to us, we're going to say no. We're going to focus, looking forward to putting someone good in once for all, who has integrity, who won't be corrupted, and who will have the care and love of the people to say, you know what, I'm going to sit in this seat, but you know what, your bag of rice is not going to double next year. You know what, you're not going to be evicted because you can't pay your rent. You know what, you're not going to go to school and come out and not be able to get a job. You know what, we're not going to beg foreign interest because we have oil that we're pumping and develop out ourselves. You're not going to stop us because we have our own agriculture rooted up, and we're growing farms throughout, and to the point we're not only feeding our own, but we're even exporting to other countries for revenue to come in. So Gambia has it all. I think you have the vision for it. I'm not starting any political trouble, but I'm just saying Gambia needs change. I feel for Gambia. I want to see the better for Gambia, and change is going to come whether I say it or not. Anyway. Because it's all the way, these young presidents, these brothers who's taking over their countries, the wave is going on. And they're telling the people in these other countries, if your leaders are not doing it, sit them down, vote them out. And Gambia has a chance coming to make a decision for their future. So, Mr. Garbo, I thank you for coming on our show. An hour is so quick when we talk about good things. May Allah bless you and continue in your good works of Akama, and for the Gambian people, may you stay in good health.
Amen.
And good mind to continue forward and do the goodwill for the people of Gambia. And one day I would knock the door down to the United States and say, can I see President Darbo for a minute? So remember me.
Thank you very much. We'll remember you, God willing.
Anything in closing you can say and close us out. Yes.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. Anything you want to say to the viewers to close out?
No, I just want to thank everyone that is watching the program. As I said, there's a lot that we can achieve in the Gambia. And Gambia is small, but it's also big. It's part of Africa. And Africa is changing. And hopefully the wind of change will also reach us in 2026, and we will be able to change the current leadership that we have in this country and be able to unleash that potential for this country.
Thank you. So welcome to, everyone, thank you. And we welcome you, Darbo, for coming on And we thank the viewers for listening. And if you know anybody anywhere where you are in your countries or cities and you're Gambian, tell them change 2026 for Gambia now. And thank you all for listening. And we'll be back at another time. And Darbo, we'll have you back to tell us when you become the president, your views of the country then. Thank you for coming, and God bless.
Thank you very much.